Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. I'm here at Audio Advice Live with Scott Noonan. We're excited to be here, man. We've got several different rooms set up, and so today we're looking at an SVS Prime Pinnacle system. We're going to talk all about it. Scott, tell us what you've got in this room and kind of why you set it up this way.
Yeah, so as you know, we got a bunch of different kinds of rooms throughout the show, and this particular one has SVS in it, and we've got JVC, the NZ9 playing in here. This room's going to be super popular, as you know, this weekend for a whole host of reasons. But one of the things, as you know, with SVS, they've really positioned that brand to how do I get the greatest performance for a reasonable price. Yeah. And, you know, particularly on our online side, as you know, we've got a couple stores in Charlotte and Raleigh, but also an e-commerce business where we sell to do-it-yourselfers. Boy, like SVS, people just eat it up because you can get so much bang for the buck with it.
So this is the more affordable. I've yet to hear these, so I'm excited. So what kind of differentiates or what kind of separates the Prime Pinnacles, say, from the Ultras?
Yeah, so ultimately, you know, SVS, if you sit and talk with them, they will tell you they try to maintain the same standards as they go up. Yeah. You're just talking about a little bit of performance difference in terms of ability to put out output and size of drivers and that kind of stuff. But honestly, as you move in and out, including with subs, which is what they're most well known for, you get great performance at each price level.
Yeah. So we've got 7 speakers set up in here. We've got 3 up front, 2 side surrounds, which they're kind of notorious for. The Prime Elevations, yeah. Super versatile speaker. I mean, I've seen guys use these for height speakers up front or in the rear. Here we're using them as side surrounds. So there's a lot of versatility there. And I love the fact that they even have this ceiling mount, which makes it really easy to mount these on the ceiling. And then we've got 2 in the back. So we've got 7.1 with 2 subwoofers. So Scott, talking about subwoofers, I love subwoofers. And I've reviewed the probably about 4 or 5 different subwoofers from SVS, and that's what's great too, is they have a variety of sealed subwoofers, different sizes, and of course different budgets. So what are we looking at in this room?
Yeah, so these are the SB16 Ultras. You know, these are pretty powerful because we've got a big conference room in here. You know, we got a bunch of seats like to hold 20 people. And so, you know, they're going to rock this room. Now, one of the things, as you know, with SVS, most of the speakers you can get them in, you know, sealed or ported. Correct. And in this case, we're running sealed. Yeah. And a lot of times people believe, and you know, you've talked about this a lot in your videos, hey, you got to have ported if you want that real powerful bass when you're running in a theater. But as we'll see when we sit down here and listen to it, this totally rocks this room.
Absolutely. And I think it just depends on your room. Whatever you're setting up, you got to figure out what works best for you. In my room, I'm running larger. I think when you get larger, that's when you can still get some crazy impact from even a sealed subwoofer. And so I like sealed subwoofers. You don't have any kind of port chuffing, but you do lose a little bit of output. But in this size room, I think these are going to absolutely slam and sound really, really great.
They're totally going to do it. You know, we get this question all the time, people asking us about it. And so one of the things I'd advise to people, if you're trying to figure out, and maybe you're designing your own room, as you know, we designed this room with our home theater tool that's at audioadvice.com. to show, even though this is in a conference room, we designed it to make sure everything was in the right place. But what we typically will do is, after someone has used that tool, we'll get on the phone with them, talk with them, and that's the perfect time to ask one of our people, because we can look at the design of your room and talk about what's in it. Hey, should I do ported or should I do sealed? And if so, how big do these subs need to be? And you know, people talk about this all the time. When you talk to people, do you tell them, hey, you'd rather have 4 subs, or do you tell them, no, give me one big one, or how do you typically talk to people?
I love having multiple subs, because especially if you've just got one person in the room and it's just you, one sub's pretty much all you need, because you can dial it in for that primary local position. But if you got multiple seating, you don't want your, well, maybe you do if it's like your mother-in-law. I know Gene always says, this is the mother-in-law seat. Yeah. But if you don't like her and you don't care if she has any bass, that's one thing. But if you want your guests to have a pretty good experience, really having multiple subwoofers strategically placed around your room, that's the way to go, and your software does that, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting. In the software you know, that we're releasing today, which is the new version, we've got it set up talking about Gene going, oh, I want my seat to be great, but maybe these other seats don't have to be so good. You know, we've got a design where you can choose, I want this one seat, and it will make that seat perfect, and everything else is second tier. You can then drag that all the way over, which is what we had to do in this room, because instead of having one sweet spot, we had to design this room because there's going to be a lot of people sitting in throughout Audiodevice Live listening to it, and you can find any spot in between. Anyways, to me, that's super fun, and we tell people the same thing. If you want to make it sound good across seats, really, let's at least go to a couple subs.
Yeah, and in this room, we've got a Denon AVR, so we're not like running separates, we're not running big amplification, but that should be able to easily handle these speakers because of they've got a pretty good sensitivity. And so I think that's going to be a great setup and really fit with a lot of you guys that maybe don't have this astronomical budget to build a home theater. You can still get a killer setup even with some pretty affordable system.
Yeah, this stuff is great for the money. So why don't we do this? Why don't we cut over? Let's bring in Patrick from JVC and talk a little bit about the NZ9 and what's going on with JVC.
I'm excited. Let's do that. Well, Patrick, thanks so much for joining in the conversation. As you know, I have a huge affinity for JVC. I've got the older NX7, but today at Audiodevice Live, you got the big bad boy. So tell us about this new projector.
This is the NZ9. So it's our laser projector that's 100,000 to 1 native contrast ratio, 100mm all glass lens assembly. It does 4K 60p, 4K 120p, and 8K 60p. And not even to mention that it does 8K eShift.
Very cool. So even gamers can really utilize that with a 4K 120.
That entire group is opening up so dynamically. There's so many people that are starting to play video games, especially now that you've got laser technology, and you don't have to worry about burning out the lamp when you let your kids or let someone else play your video game for hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely. So we're talking like 20,000 hours on the life of that unit?
Absolutely.
So that's huge. You know, with bulbs, we get about, what, 3,000? And that's still
and it doesn't look too good by the time you get to 3,000.
That's the biggest issue is over time it starts getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, but we don't have that issue with these new lasers. So it's opened up a huge possibility and just really great performance.
And that 20,000 hours is at full blast, wide open, doing HDR content as bright as it'll get. If you're watching football or SDR, it's going to be at a third of or 2/3 of that power.
Yeah.
Patrick, one of the things that, you know, when we have customers come to Audiodevice, whether they're coming into stores or talking to us online, they're looking to buy a projector, and they're trying to figure out, they know they've got HDR content, and that's going to be huge everywhere. One of the things we talk to them about is tone mapping. And obviously you guys are super proud of what you do in the tone mapping space. So tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. We introduced a version of auto tone mapping with the introduction of your projector. And it was auto tone mapping, it was the straightforward setup. But now we've got a dynamic tone mapping that analyzes, it's called Frame Adapt HDR, and it analyzes each individual frame of the video and adjusts its black level and brightness.
One of the other things I think is pretty cool is over time, you guys have put out updates on your projectors that have basically improved the projector. You know, I own a Tesla, and it's like, I'm like a kid in a candy store when all of a sudden the download comes in, it says install tonight. I'm like, what am I gonna get? And you guys have actually done that over time, which is pretty unusual in the electronic space. So,
well, part of that was because of the pandemic, and we didn't want to release brand new products. So, but we still wanted to give you something. We wanted you to have something that you can look forward to. So the things that we could add on to that machine, we did. And then when it was time to make a little bit of an upgrade, obviously the laser engine, then we had to change models. But we tried to give you that free update for performance reasons just because.
So in this room, we've got this nice big screen. Tell us a little bit about what size we've got, what aspect ratio we chose, and just some information in regards to that and why you paired that with the NZ9.
Absolutely. This is a STUDIOTECH 130. It's 123 inch. And we use 16:9 aspect ratio. And the reason why is because JVC has some really great content from Mystery Box, which is, if you've ever seen the YouTube videos, they do beautiful 8K videos. So we wanted to be able to kind of show off our performance with that.
Nice. And what gain is this? Do we know?
1.3.
1.3. And so here's a kind of an interesting thing. Scott, you have kind of shared with me ahead of time, you've got some incredibly exciting news in regards to kind of figuring out, like, how do I, you know, choose the right projector and where do I position this? And back in the day, we had another website that we went to kind of figure that all out, but you've got some cool tools that you're going to be sharing about. So tell us about that. I'm really pumped about this.
So you and I have been talking about this behind the scenes. So tonight at the keynote, we're going to release the new version of our home theater design tool. We've now integrated into it the ability to choose the gain of your screen, the size of your screen, whether it's acoustically transparent or not, and then you actually choose your actual projector. So you can go in and choose NZ7, NZ8, NZ9, and it will show you the throw distance. It'll show you the nits on the screen. It will actually show you the ideal location of the projector. And what we actually did, it's really interesting, to get this right, because everyone gives you all these calculations, we actually brought each of the projectors into our lab. And we tested them at all the differences to see what the drop off in the brightness is as you back away. And by the way, it's different for every single projector. And you guys, with this all glass lens, it performs incredibly well as you start to back it up farther away. Not all projectors do that. But the point is, the tool will show you where to put it, where you can put it, where it's ideal, and it'll show you, oh, this matches HDR spec, you're good to go. Or, you know what, the NZ7 is not going to cut it. You need to get up to 3,000 lumens. Let's get the NZ9.
Yeah, and you mentioned that there's 3 different new projectors. We got the NZ7, the NZ8, and NZ9, different price points, different performance values. And so I think, again, you're just trying to offer something for everybody. And I absolutely love what JVC is doing in the marketplace.
What's even better is now we've recently reintroduced a lamp-based projector. So you get the NX5 technology, but now you get 4K 120 input on a lamp-based projector, and that thing is knocking it out of the park. It's hitting way above its belt.
What is that model number?
It's the NP5.
NP5. All right, I have to check that one out too. So definitely. So super exciting stuff. We've got a lot that we're going to be doing over the next several days, covering a bunch of different rooms, different price points, different brands, different manufacturers. This is just going to be a really, really fun show, Scott. So I appreciate you inviting us out to hang out, to get to know guys like Patrick, to hear about these awesome products and how you guys can help better build your home theater. So if you got any questions, definitely hit these guys up, man. Audio Advice is really leading the way in just kind of connecting consumers, passionate people that are into home theater, 2-channel, you got headphones, you got kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we do.
And then you've got this new design tool, so I'm really excited to be able to get my hands on that and share that with my audience as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. We've got plenty more coming your way. Make sure you're subscribed, and as always, be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.